What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Draft Yoda, where we're data-driven and prospect-focused. I am Draft Yoda, Bill Workman. I'm your favorite draft nerd's favorite draft nerd, and today we're talking about one of the most misunderstood defensive players in college football. Oregon's defensive tackle, Amari Washington. Washington is currently carrying a 9.31 grade on my 10-point scale, making him my number 11 overall player going into this college football season, and my number 2 defensive tackle, only behind David Stone. And honestly, I think Amari Washington is one of the best examples of why statistics don't always tell the full story. Because if you look at the box score, you're going to see a player with modest sacks. You're going to see a player who isn't putting up highlight reel pass rush productivity every week. And if that's all you're looking for, you're going to completely miss what makes him special. What I see when I watch Amari Washington is one of the most valuable interior defenders in college football. One thing I love about Washington is his path and how patient and how dedicated to the development he has been. He arrived as a highly rated 4-star to Oregon, one of the top defensive linemen in his home state, player with tremendous physical upside. Oregon didn't rush him. As a freshman, he played behind veterans. He learned, he developed, he waited his turn. 2024, he became Oregon's defensive line rotation. He became part of Oregon's defensive line rotation during the Big Ten championship run. And again, his numbers weren't huge, but the growth was obvious. 2025, he became a full-time starter and one of the best. He was a full-time starter on one of the best defenses in college football. And now we're heading into 2026, and we're talking about a player who has legitimate NFL upside and one of the highest floors among interior defenders. Let's talk about that. What the first thing that jumps off the page is the burst. I know that's not something you normally say about a 330 plus pound defensive tackle. Most players his size aren't trying to, they're just trying to survive the snap. Washington attacks it. He consistently beats blockers out of their stance and immediately forces interior offensive linemen into a recovery mode. That kind of first step, quickness at his size, is super rare. Second thing I love is the power. He's got grown man strength. He resets the line of scrimmage and he controls single blocks. He consistently forces offenses to dedicate extra resources to him, which means other players are running around doing what they want to do without offensive players trying to stop them. Against teams like USC, Washington, you can see the offense really struggle to generate movement against him. And for me, if I am playing with the defensive tackle, that's winning football. If you're able to eat up 2 blockers, that means I got a linebacker that's screaming somewhere around here and just taking people's heads off. I love that. Absolutely love that. Another thing that stands out to me is his hand usage. He plays with heavy hands. He strikes offensive linemen, and you can see them lose balance. You can see them lose their leverage, and you can see the pocket starting to collapse. And he's not getting as much credit for the pressure as he should by doing what he's doing. Not every great rep ends in a sack. Honestly, some of the best defensive plays don't even end up on the stat sheet. But the difference it makes putting a offensive lineman into the lap of a quarterback early in his progression, early in his cadence, early in his read is unmeasurable for a defense. One thing I always ask when evaluating defensive tackles is, can this player make life easier for everybody around him? Because interior defensive linemen in particular don't just make plays, they create opportunities. And that's exactly what Washington does for his teammates, and that's one of the reasons I love him so much. The offense consistently has to commit 2 blockers to him, which means a lot of one-on-ones around him. When he collapses the pocket, the quarterback has to scramble, and that gives the edge rushers more time to get to them, creating sacks. When he resets the line of scrimmage, linebackers run free. Football is a team sport. It's the ultimate team sport. And having a teammate like Amari Washington when you're playing defense is the teammate that's going to elevate everyone around it. One thing that really stood out to me while watching his tape, this man has 8 batted passes. That's not an accident. That's awareness. A lot of defensive linemen stop once they realize they're not getting home. Washington doesn't. He understands passing lanes. He understands the timing. He watches the film. And he consistently gets his hands in throwing windows. 8 batted passes completely changes a drive. They're hidden plays, and I understand that a lot of what I'm saying are hidden plays. They're game tape watchers will love watching Washington. The average fan will question my sanity with this. But 8 batted passes is huge. If you're telling me the offense has 8 possessions in a game, and I can guarantee you that this defensive tackle bats a ball in one of those possessions every time, that changes the entire game. Now I understand all 8 were across the season, but the fact that he's doing it sets him apart from other people. I think one of the biggest compliments I could give him as a defensive tackle is I trust him. I trust him on first down. I trust him on second down. I trust him late in games. I trust him in big moments. He has played 650 snaps. That's how many snaps he played his first year starting. And if the coaching staff in Oregon trusts him to make that many snaps, you know what? I do too. Because he's consistently doing the job they put in front of him, and he's consistently doing his job at a high level, because that's a high-level defense. Now, all that said, nobody's perfect. Nobody will ever be perfect. So we got to find some nicks. We got to find some things for him to improve on. Where he can improve is his pass rush. The burst is there, the power is there, the tools are there. He needs to learn counter moves. Right now, the rush plan is essentially, I'm going to bulldoze through you, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to get my hands up. Which, hey, that's great. Bat balls down, awesome. You know, it'd be even better if you had a second move where you could rip or you could arm chop and get to a quarterback and get a sack instead of just getting a batted ball down. I think that is the next step, is adding more answers for him than his first move. He also needs to improve tackling. He had 8 missed tackles. That's more than I'd like to see. For a player his size and his strength, I want to see more consistency when finishing opportunities. Um, I know this one's going to be a little nitpicky, but I'd also like to see just a little bit more range outside the tackles. Um, he currently is very impactful from tackle to tackle, but when it's outside the tackles, he naturally decreases his impact on the game. Um, Not a bad thing. It's just when we're up this high again, number 11 player in the draft, I got to be nitpicky. I got to find the little things that are going to stand out that aren't going to make him perfect. Okay. But he has a massive frame, powerful anchor, outstanding run defender, you know, reliable on every down. Can he become defensive tackle one over David Stone? No. Um, Stone has more pass rush upside. Stone has more polish. Where while Washington may be a better run defender today, I think Stone has the higher ceiling overall. But he can close the gap a little bit if he improves on his pass rush. And with that said, Mari is a 9.31 out of 10 for me. Number 11 overall, number 2 defensive tackle. Honestly, one of the most dependable defenders in college football. I think he has legitimate NFL starter upside. Um, and he can become the cornerstone run defender at the next level that linebackers love playing behind. Um, he's not super flashy. He wins with consistency, and that's why he's sitting at number 11 for me. But that's my board. Do you think Amari Washington is one of the best players in this draft class? Is he underrated, like I think he is, or do I have him too high? Comment down below. Let's have a conversation. Where do you think he lands with the top interior defenders in the country? If you enjoy these player evaluations, they're built around film and analytics. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, because we're going to keep putting in the work. I'm Draft Yoda, Bill Workman, your favorite draft nerd's favorite draft nerd, and we will see you next time.